In our top stories tonight, former Cabinet Minister Donville Innes found guilty of money laundering. No shortage of ideas as Barbadians share their views on how to transform the country. Police to use all lawful means to battle gun violence. And in sports, $160,000 up for grabs in the South Coast Hotels and Resorts of Barbados race day.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. We begin with news that former Cabinet Minister Donville Innes has been convicted on all counts in the bribery case brought against him in a New York court. He is now facing up to 20 years in prison. Innes, a former commerce minister in the last Democratic Labour Party administration, is accused of accepting bribes in 2015 and 2016 when he was a public official. According to the indictment, between August 2015 and April 2016, Innes allegedly engaged in a scheme to accept approximately $36,000 in bribes from then high-level executives of the Insurance Corporation of Barbados and laundered that money through the United States. The case against Mr. Innes began on Monday, and after calling a number of witnesses, including officials from ICBL, the prosecution rested. The defense, in turn, did not call any witnesses. Closing arguments were delivered this morning. The ideas weren't short in coming as Barbadians heeded the call to share their views for the transformation of the island. Barbadians representing a wide cross-section of society took part in the Ideas Forum, part of the We Gather in 2020 initiative at the St. Lucie Rectory. Kishmar Singis reports.
The ideas were visionary, eye-opening and well thought out as members of the public interacted with Prime Minister Mia Omor Motley.
I think it would be great if we can have a platform where we can have all Barbadian businesses aggregated onto a single platform for that would make it easy to find, so that basically there will be a lot of convenience where it comes to shopping.
We have an education system that has worked for us in Barbados in the past. So my question is, what are we doing differently now than we did in the past? Perhaps if we look back to what some of the things we did that worked then, we'll be able to get these things to work now without making any major changes.
I know that your government is committed to educational reform, and I want to find out to what extent will that process involve persons with disabilities and center their issues.
Ms. Motley says her administration is open to ideas as Barbados has to up its game in the quest to become world class.
This country must pause and begin to understand that we coasted for too long in the last 2 decades, and that we have to dig deep down now to put in the early work for the next 50 years, and that we have to start to understand that 50 years really is not even a long horizon. But at the very least, we must be prepared to stay the course.
Questions were asked of the panel, which included West Indies Test captain Jason Holder and 2016 winner of the Red Bull Music 3-Star World Andre DJ Puffy Harris by the Prime Minister. She sought their input on several areas, including leadership, the youth, and mental health. Holder sees communication as important and impressed on young Barbadians to improve on their communication skills. He shared this advice with respect to conflict resolution.
We've got to understand that you're not gonna have, well, everybody's not always going to be in your corner. You're not going to agree with everything that everybody does or everybody says, but for the sake of peace, you just need to understand that sometimes I've got to bite my tongue. Sometimes I've got to accept that this may not be the time and place. I heard you mention time and place, and sometimes, again, relating it back to cricket, sometimes I may have a point to get across a player and critique his game, but it may not be best suited for the team environment. It may be a situation where you pull him one side and have a one-on-one discussion with him.
DJ Puffy, despite the international exposure, says it was not without sacrifice.
We tend to only share our wins on socials, and people are programmed by that, and they think that the lives that we live is only glitz and glamour and hype, and enjoyment, but really and truly it is definitely difficult. They don't see the countless hours of jet lag that myself and Jason would be dealing with. They don't see the fact that no matter what you're going through or no matter how tired you are, you still have to put on that face and put on those pads, or, you know, put your mind in a gear.
A young entrepreneur who shared the story of his struggles was offered some comforting words as Prime Minister Motley indicated that the economy is about to turn the corner. Kishmar Senjis, CBC News.
Thanks, Kishmar. Well, legislation is coming that will penalize owners of public service vehicles and not just the operators. Prime Minister Motley says this is in a bid to minimize the risk taken. Her comments came in response to concerns expressed during the Ideas Forum to the state of the sector and the reckless behavior exhibited. She reiterates the manner of compensation has to change and announced plans to make GPS mandatory in all forms of public transportation.
So that if people are taken off route or they are wherever, that we know how we can find them, because it is just a matter of public safety. Yeah. You can't be playing to the public without adhering to standards that protect the public.
A brazen daylight shooting near the compound of a St. James school has left a 37-year-old father dead. The man was reportedly about to drop off his 6-year-old son and another student when the incident occurred. Police say it was just after 8 in the morning when they received a call about a shooting in Taylor's Gap Weston, the road adjacent to the St. Albans Primary School.
On the river, the police, we saw a private motor car at the side of the road, which observed had a number of bullet holes in that car. We did some investigations, and we discovered the lifeless body of a male next to the road.
A father of the deceased and president of the Young Men's Christian Association, Emerald Holder, says as an advocate against gun violence, to lose his son in this manner has hit home.
Our organization really have a non-tolerance to those sort of things. And here I am an advocate for that, and it's right at my door now. So you can imagine how I feel. I don't know what we can do about it, but I know my organization, we are working tirelessly to correct all the evils that we see that we can do as an organization.
Well, police investigations into the incident are continuing. Well, there will be no formal classes at the St. Albans Primary School tomorrow in light of today's shooting incident, which happened in close proximity to the school. However, the school will be open to facilitate counseling of students, teachers, and others impacted by the tragedy. Classes at the St. James institution were called off this morning, and parents asked to collect their children. Following a meeting with the principal and staff of the school, Education Minister Santia Bradshaw announced the decision to keep the school open tomorrow.
There'll be no classes, no official classes, but just as we did with the Frederick Smith matter, we worked with the teachers, and we understand that it's going to be difficult for some of them. We've asked them to work with each other, where we know that there are some who may have a harder time being able to reintegrate tomorrow, to be able to help pull some weight as well. And we recognize that there are some students as well who, right now the parents may be wondering what to do, and therefore we've established a hotline at the ministry, just as we did with Frederick Smith, so persons can take advantage of being able to call in to be able to get the necessary counseling that they require. But it will be available at the school compound tomorrow.
Noting that any tragedy which impacts on school children is an assault on the education system, Minister Bradshaw also made an appeal for anyone with information that can assist police with their investigations to come.
For someone to be able to take this step to come so close to the proximity of a school without regard for the lives of the students, and in particular the staff at this institution, is something that none of us in the society must tolerate. I therefore know that while the police are continuing their investigations, they will be calling on the public to be able to assist with the investigations, and I too would want to take this opportunity to call on the Barbadian public who are listening to be able to take the necessary steps to inform the police if they know of the whereabouts of the individual who has been here this morning to commit this murder.
Law enforcement officers will use any and all lawful means to bring the perpetrators of this morning's shooting to justice. This from Attorney General Dale Marshall, who made the comment during a hastily called press conference at government headquarters this afternoon. Noting that any execution is wrong, Mr. Marshall said to do so in the vicinity of a primary school is sheer evil.
Let me serve notice on these bandits and all other people of like mind. We will not allow you to destroy our society. The handful of you will not be allowed to wreak havoc unchecked in Barbados. We are intent on bringing Barbados back to a state of relative peace and safety, and we will do whatever we must. No lawful action will be considered to be out of reach of the Royal Barbados Police Force, and I am charging them with bringing these lawless people to swift justice. Barbados must become a very uncomfortable place for these villains.
Mr. Marshall says this shooting and another earlier this month will come under the scrutiny of the National Security Council, which was scheduled to meet this evening.
This morning's events prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we all stand to be affected by the actions of these criminals, and we must all band together to stamp their influence out. I again urge Barbadians to desist from this notion that if they have information that they should not come forward. Even if it is your brother or your sister, anybody engaged in this kind of evil activity has to be brought to justice, and it can only happen with right-thinking Barbadians coming forward to support the efforts of the Royal Barbados Police Force.